don't know why I just did a salute. But anyway, what's going on, everybody? It is episode 4. It is early in the morning. This is an early morning recording, y'all. So this will be interesting. I want to give a shout out to everybody who's been blowing this season up. Okay. This is now the 4th week, only 3 weeks in, and the love that I've gotten has been crazy from people reposting that I never thought would repost my stuff. And it just goes to show that when the time is right, the Lord said He make it happen. And I guess this is the time. Okay. So we have an interesting topic today. Now, I'm going to give you a look behind the scenes scoop about this episode. I originally planned to do it by myself, but somebody reached out to me and I was like, wanting to have a certain conversation about a certain thing. And I said, well, why don't I make this an episode where I make this an interview? So before we get to that, let's get into today's topic or today's title, so we not too confused. All right. Today's title is Dear Millennials, F that job. All right. The meme reads, ain't no job finna work me harder than I finesse it. Okay. Inspirations. All right. The inspirations come from obviously these jobs. Never ever will I downplay anybody who likes working a 9 to 5. I'm doing it currently. I've done it. But in reality, it's not for everybody. And unfortunately, social media and things make that the goal to not being to be in entrepreneurship, but in reality it is for everybody. We'll have a brief conversation about that today too. A book, all right, it's a book by Liz Ryan. It's called Break the Rules to Get the Job You Want and the Career You Deserve. All right, it's an interesting read. I think you all should check it out. And obviously, my title was inspired by Mike Todd. If you know anything about Mike Todd, he did the FU series, which was forgive, but it was read like FU, So that's kind of my inspiration where I'm like, if he can do it, so can I. All right, so let's go ahead today and introduce my guest. All right, so state your name, who you are, and where you from.
Yeah. Hey, everybody. What is up? My name is Nicki. I am a life coach and I am based in Richmond, Virginia.
Okay. I have a friend from Richmond, Virginia, actually. How is the weather there today?
It is beautiful. It's supposed to be 60 degrees, sunny. There's not a bunch of pollen yet, so it's like bearable right now until like probably next week.
Right. Well, see, we got all the Houston has all the pollen right now. Like kids' eyes swelling up, everything. It's bad.
Yeah. Yeah. I used to live in Cyprus, right outside of Houston for a couple months.
Oh, really?
Yep.
Okay. Did you enjoy it?
I did. Unfortunately, it was like June through September, which was the most unbearable months ever. So I really didn't experience it a whole lot, but I'd love to come back.
Okay. Good. All right. So now I'm going to ask you, um, when it comes to what you do, all right, give us a breakdown of your schedule.
A breakdown of my schedule. What do you mean by schedule?
So you're a life coach, right?
Yep.
Okay. So like, is there a certain like I meet with this person. Like if from you wake up in the morning, whatever it is you do to get ready for work. If sometimes you might just jump up and just, oh, let me go. Is it virtual? Is it virtual? Is it, in the building? How many clients do you meet with a day? All that kind of stuff.
Yeah. Okay. So my schedule is kind of crazy right now in a different way. There's a lot of variables coming into play in good ways, right? So typically I meet on a daily basis, Monday through Thursday with like 2 to 4 or 5 clients. It just kind of depends where we're at and how the weeks play out. But other than that, I mean, I'm meeting with people doing consultation calls. I go out and network a lot, or I do online events. So my work schedule really varies. I'm going to be honest with that. Sometimes I work 7 to 3, and other days I work 12 to 8. Just kind of
Okay.
depends on how my schedule plays out. So I like that flexibility though, so it's not an issue for me. But all my services are remotely online, so I work from home.
Okay. Now, so what inspired you to be a life coach?
All right. So My previous role that I was in, I was a training manager. And
Okay.
basically, in that position, I did a lot of new employee onboarding, employee development. So, if they got promotions or any moves, I would train them so they can move into that position, leadership coaching, all that kind of stuff. So, I was basically doing coaching just in a more professional aspect. And I got into life coaching because of really the new employees that were coming in. So, I worked in a financial institution. So the highest turnover entry position were tellers. And that comes with a lot of people maybe coming out of high school or even basically coming out with maybe a college degree. And they didn't have a lot of life skills, they didn't know how to show up in a job, how to communicate with their boss when they had an issue, how to dress up professionally, how to manage this new full time paycheck that they're getting. And I ended up mentoring them a lot with that. So, unfortunately, it was in a professional setting, and that's not the way I wanted to coach or the impact I wanted to do. So, I decided to go more personal and help people build those life skills that they need outside of work.
Okay. Okay. Because it's just again, and it's funny how everything's coming together. How I mentioned earlier, so social media, especially for us young millennials, they glamorize, you know, forget that job and just
Yep.
leave and
Yep.
take the leap of faith, which I agree with. There's also you have to take calculated risk, but the
Oh,
thing
yeah.
is, it makes it to where it's like people say they don't want to work. That's why, unfortunately, we got so many scammers and we
Yep.
have so many, these other positions of people making money ways legally and illegally. And then unfortunately, it'd be different if you was making it illegally and then like hid it and kept it, but you keep going back and back, and
Yep.
eventually you just, you don't even realize that you hot on the block.
Yeah, and I kind of realized, I was thinking about this podcast before and like my transition and how I kind of realized those things and what job I wanted to do and what the impact I wanted to make and like making a transition period where I could prepare myself to do these things and the things that I wanted so I could live the way I wanted to and have more impact and all that kind of stuff.
Okay. Okay. So now I have some words that we're going to define. All right. So the first one is escape. All right. Break free from confinement or control. Then we're going to define finesse. Do something in a subtle and delicate manner. And then we're going to define forget, which is put off one's mind and cease to think of or consider. So, with that, you guys, if you remember, the EFF is actually an acronym. But it's funny because, like I said, you can still read it as F their job too. Because you know, I'm not gonna lie, some of these jobs be trying it. And and it can be hard for a young millennial who gets on Instagram and
Oh,
they at
yeah.
their job and their boss and they do have a petty boss and and Instagram is saying quit, they're gonna say that's a sign. And then they be
Yep.
like, you know what,
Yeah.
you got it. But and I'll get more into it as we go along. But I think that same with calculated risk, also knowing when is your time of exit. And I feel as though if you're gonna make that exit, do it as even if you do quit and work for yourself, still try to do it as professionally as possible. Give your 2 weeks, because then that gives you in them 2 weeks you can really go in grind mode and try
Yep.
to really put in what I need to do, like those 14 days, make it like a boot camp. Put it in, put yourself in there, trying to really get everything set up so then that way you don't have to come back or that kind of thing. But again, we're gonna get into that as we go along. So now, what does this all have to do with mental health? Okay. So, according to WebMD in the article titled What to Know About Work and Mental Health, it says, it says, how do you manage stress from a job? It says the average human spends approximately 90,000 hours of their life in the workplace. That's a significant amount of time.
Mhm.
It says your work may be your source of self fulfillment or happiness, but it can also cause serious mental health issues. It said it is vital to know how to deal with these work related mental health issues so you can stay productive at work. Okay. So, with that, I think about that because for me, I know that that's a long time. And, even being my age at 27 and my grandmother, bless her, she is 86, right? Yeah, she's 86. So we were having a conversation about the job, and I was telling her at some point, I'm gonna leave. The way it's looking, probably much, much sooner than later. And she was kind of like, well, what about your benefits, and because then if you leave, then how's it going to get paid for? Because then you could just be at a job and let them pay it. I
Yep.
said, I hear you, but that's the purpose of being aware of those things, because then that you have that money to the side to know I need to take care of it. Because see, I'm an advocate for having money. Well, I mean, I have benefits through my where I'm at. If you didn't know, I'm educated, but
Okay.
you know, just the benefits don't pay for everything because I didn't want them to. So I at least have my doctor covered and something else. Something else. But I know I got the doctor covered. Now I know the eye doctor and dentist I pay out of pocket. But I have my doctor covered because I don't want to be one of the people. You see them stories, and it's not funny, but you see them stories of people who never go to the doctor and then they look up and they got cancer and some crazy because they
Yeah.
go. So my thing with that, and then I'm asking you, how did you know it was time for you to leave?
I knew that it was time for me to leave once I started realizing that I was changing as a person. So I
Mm,
wasn't the person that I was before. I lost my fire. Anytime that I had off of work, I just wanted to hide, watch TV, melt into my couch, and not do the things that I enjoyed. And, that comes with all other types of things like my mental health went to crap. I started getting really bad anxiety. So that affected my physical health, gained weight there, acne, all that kind of stuff. And it really suffered with like my personal relationships. I was distancing myself from other people. And, like I said, not showing up the way I wanted to, not showing up and doing the things that I wanted to do. So that was the moment when I realized, like, I am not who I want to be. And this is not okay to me.
okay. And I love that. And then that's when, of course, because we always have to flip the narrative here. So
Yeah.
for that person who you say, I'm feeling like this now, but I don't have a way out just yet, what would your suggestion be?
Take the time and get really curious with yourself about what's going on. So I had like a 6 to 10 month exit plan. I
Mhm.
had my awakening moment or whatever you want to call it. And that's when I was like, okay, so what do I need to do to get myself out of here? And like you said before, hinted at, like, it doesn't have to be entrepreneurship, it could be another job or whatever suits you best. But I wanted to be my own business owner and I wanted to create the lifestyle that I wanted. So I started getting curious with myself and asking, like, what does that look like? How do I want to show up in the world just as a person, regardless of the job that I had? What stress levels I wanted to have, how I wanted to work, and then figuring out my finances. That's the hardest part, I think, that prevents people from moving forward or doing these things in that health insurance aspect. So,
Right.
I took months. I took a solid couple weeks at the beginning getting curious with myself, figuring out my finances, where I'm at, and then creating a game plan and saving all of my pennies. I did sacrifice having more fun or going out and doing those things because I was saving that money to leave my job so I could have more purpose and a better lifestyle later on. So you're going to have to make sacrifices somewhere along
Yeah.
those lines.
That's the main thing, making sacrifices. I love how, like I said, leading up into this question I asked you, it talked about in the notes prior, it was talking about, how to deal with work related mental health issues so you can stay productive. I think it's good like that because if for you are in that place and you saying like, man, I want to leave, but I don't want to just leave abruptly, because sometimes our emotions can't get the best of us, and it's one of those
Mhm.
situations where you at work and
Yeah.
your boss, y'all already been getting into it, and then it's that one day they say something crazy, and then you like, what, I'm going. I'd rather, for people who are salary based and maybe only get a certain amount of days, and you about out of days, I'd rather you take a day and not get paid than go to work and you're not in the mood, and you going, if somebody even look at you crazy, you going
Yep.
off.
Yeah, I completely agree because I have to say it wasn't easy planning my exit. Like, there were moments where I just wanted to say, F this job, throw up these papers and walk out the door. There were times that I was frustrated. And of course, I had to cool myself down or think about the bigger picture, what's most important to me. But, taking days off to calm yourself down or to work with your mental health to give yourself a break and that sort of thing is important. And that can be part of your quote unquote like exit plan. Like, as a salary individual that I was, I had weeks of PTO.
Mhm.
So I was like, okay, well, why don't I start using these things? Why don't I take time off to get myself in the right headspace, to prepare for my exit, to start taking this time off to focus on my future job or future skills that I need and use it to my benefit in that aspect.
Yep, I agree. I agree. So, continued on with the same source from earlier, it says things like a poor working environment could negatively affect workplace morale. It says this ultimately leads to things like subpar job performances, health issues, and poor communication, which causes frustration and stress. It says poor mental health brought about by stress in the workplace could cause a range of serious medical conditions like hypertension, diabetes, and other heart conditions. So again, when we talk about, jobs and, mental health, it's just interesting to see how a job can affect you in the long. I mean, you see it all the time physically.
Yeah.
You sitting at a desk all day. Later in life, you having all those issues in your back and neck and stuff because
Yeah.
I'm learned early to stretch in the morning and stretch at night. I had another situation happen a little while ago, so I'm trying to be the advocate for people with that. But
Yeah.
the importance of that, what else? When you think about some people have work PTSD or job PTSD, and at this point, you talk about your experience before you became this full-time life coach working for yourself. Do you think that you maybe have some job or work PTSD?
Heck yeah, I do. That was one thing I was talking about. So, like, or thinking about before this. So, when I kind of had that awakening moment where I realized, like, this is not who I am, this is not what I want to do, it was right before COVID. We were doing a software conversion at my company. So, I was in charge of planning, training, scheduling, making sure 85 employees knew how to do their job with this new software piece. And it was crazy the amount of hours that I was working. Um, so yeah, I forgot what was the question? I'm so sorry.
Basically, do you have any like work or job PTSD?
Oh, yes, sorry. I'm sorry.
You good.
So, yeah, I was working so many hours and I didn't have a life outside of that. And this stress load that I had, like, I was fine in the moments. I'm one of those people, like, if I gotta do it, I gotta do it. I'm gonna put my head down and grind. But once I was done, I realized how much that messed me up. And I don't ever, ever, ever want to go back to working 6 12-hour days a week, constantly thinking about work, always checking my emails, not having time for myself. That's a clear boundary that I discovered for myself by making that mistake of overworking, and that's, like, not acceptable to me anymore, working more than 10 hours a day, which is even a lot, to be honest.
Yeah, definitely. Because they say you have 24 hours in a day, but 5 to 8 of them you're asleep. So
Yeah.
that already knocks off a bunch. And then if you're at work 10 hours, it's like,
You don't have time.
exactly. So now let's break down the EFF for this week. So we first starting off with the first definition, which was escape. All right. So I'm suggesting that you all escape poor pay, constant pressure to make more money eventually affects your mental health. And this, again, this part of the source comes from the same sources earlier. It says when employees are underpaid and overworked, mental conditions like anxiety and depression are more likely to happen. And then it says, according to How to Escape a Horrible Job on Forbes, it says that now I call this, and this part I call the escape plan. It says, take your time putting your plan together. It says, observe what happens
Mhm.
to your body and feelings at work. And once you begin investing in your precious mojo on yourself at home on your own time versus spending all of your time trying to please the impossible to satisfy people you work with. Now, this is the thing. And for anybody who, that's why I feel like our generation, whatever, goes so hard on the weekends. And I tell people, and I said this before, I was like, when you get to the point where you're reaching and dying and craving the weekends, or you just can't wait for that trip. And not saying you shouldn't be excited for these things, but when it's to the part where you live for them,
Mhm.
or you wake up every morning like, do I need this job? Like, I feel like that is the worst feeling in the morning. You wake up like,
Yes.
I really need to be here. I feel like one that shows you don't want to be there. So
Yep.
that's off real. And unfortunately, we were taught, which I feel like we're breaking those generational thought pattern, I'll say, of I
Definitely.
have to get this job with benefits and just live and work here until I retire and live off that. Because my grandma, you can't tell her no different, you
Yeah.
know. And so with those type of logics, and is your family like that? Was your family kind of like that? Work until you get a job with benefits, and then that's really it? Or how were they with your transition into where you at now?
Yeah, I think it was a mixture. So, like, my mom was super supportive and but she lives a different lifestyle as well. She doesn't work a 9 to 5. So she
Mm,
understands the importance of mental health and making sure you work a job that you love. You don't have to work the typical 9 to 5 and all that kind of stuff. So she was kind of already in that position. But I would say a lot of people questioned me and was like, "Why are you doing this? Like you are leaving 15 years of like job security to go out and do all these things and not have consistent income or benefits or anything of that nature." So I would say I had a lot more feedback or pushback from friends rather than
mm.
family.
Okay. And see, for most people, it's the other way around. So that's
Yeah.
interesting. Okay. Okay. With the same escape plan, it says visualize yourself preparing for a job interview or walking into your future boss's office to have a human, substantive conversation and problems and solutions. It says visualize that manager calling you in a few weeks later to say, I'd like to get you on my team. When can you start?
Hmm.
So for those who aren't necessarily entrepreneurs, this was
Yeah.
for you. But for the entrepreneurs, you have to literally, for me, I drown myself in these people who took that leap of faith for podcasts, who are entrepreneurs, who are those content creators. Because to again, my parents, because yeah, my mom is starting to get it. My dad, he kind of get it too. At the end of the day, they 30 years older than me. I'm 27, they 57.
Yeah.
So the whole world of people, not saying this is what I want to do, but posting their lifestyles and them going to the gym and cooking and what are they wearing today and making thousands and millions of dollars. That sounds crazy,
Yep.
but it's what it is, and like I said, you got to make that great escape, but you got to be cautious. So this is my thing. Now, for everybody who knows what education, teachers, whatever you do in education, because I'm not technically a teacher anymore, but I'm still in education. So basically, you work. You have until late May, early June, and then you're done for the summer, and you get paid throughout the summer.
Hmm.
So, in some cases, some people may leave a little early. That happens sometimes too, but this is my thing with that. What about, let me ask this question and then I'm gonna say what I gotta say. Have you ever dealt with petty bosses and or petty coworkers?
Oh yeah. Oh
How
yeah.
do you
All
deal
the
with it?
time. Ah, God, that's a really hard balancing act, and it kind of depends on their level of pettiness and what they're being petty on. I'd say the first thing that I had to understand for me to like show up the way I wanted to show up with those petty people is like, what boundaries do I need to have like with these people or my hours or the conversations that I have with them? Like, is it appropriate for me to just communicate with them via email or do I have to see them in person? Like figuring out those things. But the biggest thing, it's a hard practice, I have to say, but the biggest thing is, like, that is beyond your control. You cannot control their pettiness, but you can control how you respond to them and the thoughts and feelings that are associated with that. So, when it came to the pettiness from other people, I learned to practice my self-awareness and self-management and control in that piece because I knew that was going to help me become a better person, knowing that I can't control their responses and what they do. And then I just maintain my distance, like understand what boundaries you need to have with them and just keep on moving forward.
I think that's good when you said to just keep your. I mean, we all know to keep your distance, but when you was like just to just accept them for who they are, and I feel like that helps somebody with the forgiveness process because maybe you do get this burning sensation when you go to work and you see those
Yeah.
people and you know that they're doing stuff to you because it's like for that person who already want to quit, for that person
Mhm.
who wants to start their own business and they can't really go yet, but then not only do you have the obstacle of you're burnt out, your job is not, you know fulfilling you. That's one. That's the main thing. But
Yep.
what about two? If you're dealing with somebody or several people who it just seems they have a vendetta against you and you don't know why. You know, I've come places, you speak and people don't speak back, and you're like, you know,
Yeah.
what did I do to these people? And you know, and sometimes you have those petty bosses who will, you know, go back and run and tell, oh, well, he didn't do this, or he's not doing that, or she's not doing this, or she was supposed to be this at this time. And it's like, what do you gain from that? That's my thing. Like, what do
Yep.
you gain from doing those things? Because at the end of the day, from what I've seen, and not always, but 9 times out of 10, I'll say 8 times out of 10. 8 times out of 10, the people who always running and snitching don't always do it, aren't always doing what they're supposed to be doing. So I don't know if this is their way to get like the eyes off them to like look at them while I go do this or what. But it's especially for me. I've seen so much weird, um, weird, shisty, sneaky behavior from
Yeah.
people, and then they do some of the worst stuff, and I'm like, y'all looking at me, but y'all don't see them. I'm like, you know,
Exactly.
so
That's hard.
so the next F is finesse, and this is I said finesse a heavy workload. Which could cause employee burnout. It says burnout or exhaustion is a common cause of mental health problems in the workplace. It can be a major barrier to making meaningful contributions in your personal and professional life. It says burnout employees cannot work efficiently. It says this means losses or less in profit for the employer. Many companies dedicate a budget to help their employees take care of their mental health, which obviously, you know, you have your days. You know, I'm seeing that even colleges are mandating mental health days. I know my
Yeah.
college, my alma mater, Texas University, I've seen that they have 2 days after semester where they say these are mental health days. No work is done, nothing is assigned. You know, I don't know about the on campus, I know, but online, that's what they were saying.
Yeah.
No assignments are due this day and that kind of thing. And again, we briefly talked about that earlier with, you know, knowing when to use your days. What was I about to say? I was about to say a question, and it'll probably come back. It'll come back. So again, use your days wisely, and then stigma. So like with mental health is a delicate topic for many. Not many people are comfortable speaking up about their personal mental health struggle with coworkers. Did you have anybody at your job that you talked to or, you know, maybe vented to about anything, or you was kind of like the old school logic of I go to work and I go home?
Oh yeah. Oh yeah. And this is where like the mentoring aspect came into play as well, or like the coaching for new employees, because they were dealing with petty people too. And if they lacked the self-awareness or skills to like manage themselves and control themselves, they would come to me and talk about it. And we go through like, well, what's most important? How do you want to handle this situation? So on and so forth. But there are a lot of people that just get so over the pettiness where they just like shut down and they're like, I'm here to do my job. Do not ask me to do anything more, and that's all. I'm gonna clock out at 5 o'clock, and I will not be here a minute more.
Okay. Okay. So now, what are the type of people? Who are the type of people that you like for on your life coaching? So who are your typical clients? I ask that. Or do they vary?
Um, all across the spectrum.
Okay.
So I would say I tend to get drawn to people like millennials, people between 20 and 35 that are trying to figure out a bunch of different factors in their life. So I am working with people that realize that they're not in the right career and they want to move to somewhere else. I'm working with people that don't have the skills that they need to level up to get a promotion or to handle their finances, or they just want to improve their mindset when it comes to these things and being resilient with all these ups and downs that they have and continue to move forward. So basically, like I help people build better habits to reach their goals. So that comes with accountability, discipline, consistency, resilience, all those things that people need to actually get to that goal, whatever it might be with physical, mental health, careers, relationships, happiness, confidence, whatever that might be.
Right. Okay. So now my other question is, do you feel as though the pandemic made prepared you more for the position you're in now?
100%. I think the pandemic for me was a blessing in disguise, which I know that's kind of like crazy to think about. And I don't mean it in like a negative way, but like the fact that we got shut down and I had to work from home helped me calm myself down and reduce my burnout and work like smaller hours and be able to use that extra spare time to focus on myself and to better my mental health and figure out what my game plan is moving forward.
Okay. Okay. Yeah. I agree. It was a blessing in disguise. Obviously, it was crazy at first, but some people,
Yeah.
they missed, hanging out with people, and they thrived off that. But
Yeah.
as far as workload, for a lot of people, it was kind of that push to show them like you work a lot. So now you at home,
Yep.
you're forced to be at home. You can't go anywhere. You can't, sometimes it saves people a lot of gas money,
Oh,
you
yeah.
know,
A lot of
uh,
time.
a lot of
It
time.
forced me to focus on myself.
Yeah, and see, that's the thing that people I feel like were scared to do, but
Yes, definitely.
that it kind of forced that and made that. So now my other question is, do you have a lot of men clients or women clients, or is it just really both?
I would say 50-50.
Okay,
Yeah, I think I just counted the other day. Half of them are women and half of them are men.
okay, okay. So let's move to the last F, which is forget. So I'm quick to say forget that job. I said for me, don't let the wind blow too hard. Don't let it rain too hard. I can even cough too hard. I'm like, you know what? I'm not coming in today. I'm
Yep.
actually was invited to a concert um tomorrow, and then I was like, well, I take off on Monday. I don't think I'm going to the concert, but I still kind of didn't warp my head around not going in on Monday, so I might use it as an excuse. But this is the thing. If you, and this is an extreme, but we have to go there.
Yep.
If you die tomorrow, they may mourn your death, but they're going to replace you.
I am so glad you said that. Yes.
So, with that logic, did that logic ever like keep stick in the back of your head? Because it stays in mine.
Yes, and I think that helps me calm myself down when I was really getting anxious and scared about like what they were going to think of me, what's going to happen when I leave. Everybody's going to judge me. Like if I die tomorrow, they're going to replace me in a heartbeat. And on the opposite side, if I die tomorrow, I want to do what I'm doing and enjoy my life. You only have one life to live. Why would you not want to do what you want to do? So that was actually something that I thought about a lot to help kind of ground myself.
Yeah, that's the thing. Like, I've been in several different jobs, and it's been a situation where I've been at one, and I was told that I had a bad reputation.
Hmm.
And I'm glad we're talking about this now. And for anybody out there who may have felt like, I have a bad reputation here, I do feel like, don't get it twisted, I may have slacked or lacked in some areas, but it's kind of like I'll say a 60-40, where the 40%, I'll say 35-65. Not the best person with math. I think that's right, right? Yeah. I think, no, is it 55?
Yeah,
Oh,
55.
okay. 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 So maybe the 35% of stuff was wrong. Didn't do right. And then the 55 is hearsay. People
Mhm.
saying this, or, you breathe too hard. Hey, did you see how he breathed too hard? Look at what he's doing now. He didn't do this,
Yep.
or she didn't do that. So that can affect your mental health too, when unfortunately you do have a bad reputation at your place of work. And especially for a person who may be like myself, who been at other jobs and was loved by all, and
Yep.
then you're at a job where now you're getting told people really don't like you like that, you have a horrible reputation, and and it was a comment made saying that your body language says you don't want to be here. But this is my thing. One, what does that have to do with the job? My body language, like saying, "Oh, you don't want to be here." Maybe the people that I came across, and maybe I'm not saying me, I'm just hypothetically, but maybe the people I came across, I know they don't like me, or I know that there's weird energy there, so maybe I'm just reacting.
Yeah.
So, what would you say to anybody who feels as though they have this bad reputation? And maybe any tips? Say pretend right now, say I'm getting free life coaching, y'all. So say right now, I'm one of your clients, and I say, I have a bad reputation. I'm old enough and more and aware enough to know I can't change people's mind, and that's not my
Mhm.
goal. So what would you say to a person who may be feeling as though, in this instance, because somebody who's gonna watch this is in this instance, they had this bad
Yeah.
reputation and they don't know what to do, but they know they're not gonna try to force no one to like them or to see them differently. What would be your advice to them?
Yeah, so I would definitely dive in deeper and I want to hear like what types of reputations, what's been said, if it's actually true. Because one thing that comes into play with this is like our thoughts. You could be thinking that you have a bad reputation, but is that actual reality? Like, have people told you, like, for example, your example, people did tell you or someone did tell you that, but understanding what's actually reality and what's actually true. But also, you know, you're not going to be 100% all the time in the jobs that you do. So if you just because you quote unquote have a bad reputation here doesn't mean that that's actually who you are. You're a bad person or anything of that nature. It could have been that you weren't set up for success there. You don't have coworkers there that you don't connect with. Your values are out of line. You're not doing what you want to do. So naturally, that may seem like you're defensive or very passive towards other people, or you don't want to be there because you're just not enjoying it. So I would give that piece of advice most definitely because we're not going to be perfect all the time. There will be issues. And I can say that people probably didn't like me at some point. I know I do a great job in the work that I do and the work that I've done in the past, but it may have not been acceptable or enough for that other person or my boss or something of that nature. And you know, that's just how life is. We're going to go through waves of that.
Absolutely, absolutely. So now let's go on to the next segment, which is the weekly sabbatical, which is, as we know, a time to just kind of sit back and we just kind of reflect. So, okay, real quick. So, have you ever had a job? Did you have a job as you were through your college career, like through your college days?
Oh, yes.
Where did you do?
I was a teller.
Oh, okay.
Yep.
Okay. So that's how you supported yourself through all of college or most of college?
Yeah, so when I graduated high school, I decided to go to school part time and work full time for 2 years. I went to a community college just to build enough money so I could be comfortable supporting myself. And so once I got to that point, then I transferred to an out of state college where I could, well, no, it was within the state, it was just out of town. So I could actually go to school and focus on my studies, but I still worked as a teller throughout like the summer breaks, all that kind of stuff.
Okay. So you kind of had a sense of self-reliance at a young age.
100%. I had to be self-reliant.
Okay. So what tip would you give to anybody who maybe struggles with self-reliance?
Um, you gotta do what's best for you, and that could be in different forms when it comes to money, mental health, all those types of things. For me, it was important to be financially secure. So that meant I had to find jobs. I had to find balance in certain aspects. So, like, yeah, I would have loved to go to college directly out of high school, but I knew that wasn't doable for me. So I went to community college. I put my head down and I worked for 2 years full time so I could make that money.
Okay. Okay. Have you ever, and I'm sure I know the answer, but have you ever told a job no? Like, no, I'm
Like,
not doing
yeah, yeah.
that. Okay. 'Cause I know I have. I actually have a story. So I remember it was the year of COVID. I was a social studies teacher
Okay.
and doing a great job, And our English teacher for sixth grade, she wasn't doing so well. I
Uh-huh.
have a degree in English, and my principal and them kind of suggested, like, oh, the scores are looking like gonna look like this, and we can't explain it. Is there any way you could switch? So you teach English, and then she sees social studies. So I said no, because that's a lot of unnecessary pressure on me. I mean, I get,
Yep.
what happens, but just it looks bad, it looks tacky. We switching. Oh, I'm gonna teach social studies, now I'm gonna teach English. How do you explain it to the parents? Anyway, so she ended up getting fired.
Yeah.
They kind of was like, we're moving you there. And so I just kind of said whatever at first. When I saw the workload, I looked to my principal. I said, I can't do this. I said, I can't do this. This is too much. And for a good week or so, they kept pulling me in for meetings, trying to convince me. The principal, her and the other principals was like, well, we can't make somebody do it because if they're not comfortable, then we're not going to get the best result.
Yeah.
Not my principal, who was my direct boss, because it was like a K through 8 school. So it was like, different principals for the different clusters. No, she was like, no, he's gonna have to do it because we can't, afford that and all the good stuff. So she kept bringing people in, had meetings and doing a lot of crazy stuff. And I stood firm with the no. And eventually they left me alone. But the point of is sometimes you have to look in the face of the beast. And I still think she's a great lady, but you have to look in the face of the beast and say no. You have to put your foot down and say, no, I'm not doing that. It is what it is, and take whatever repercussions come with it. And just know that when you standing up for your morals and your beliefs, that I believe that God's gonna take care of you anyway.
Yeah.
So you just kind of have to just take that leap of faith, and that's taking a leap of faith too. Sometimes it's not always just quitting and saying, all right, I'm
Yeah.
going. Sometimes it's saying, hey, no, I can't do that.
Yeah.
Because
And I want to add to that because I see that a lot with the clients that I work with. And this kind of goes back to boundaries as well, like what's okay with you, what's not okay with you when it comes to work. But people are scared to say no to certain things. And I think the reason behind that is because they're not clear on their no. Like, are you saying no just because like you're resentful or like you're resenting them and they're making you do work? Or is there boundaries like this is not okay for my mental health? I cannot take on more workload. I cannot stay past 4 p.m., whatever it might be. So if anybody is in a situation like this where they can relate, I would challenge you to get really clear on why your answer is no and literally list them out. Don't take a mental note of everything. Write them all out. Why do you want to say no to your boss or whoever it might be or a project? Why is that important to you and how you're going to move forward with that? Because when you get crystal clear on those examples and those reasons of why you're saying no, you're naturally going to feel more confident walking in and saying that and standing firm with what's most important to you.
Okay, good. So have you ever been fired from a job?
No, I haven't.
Okay, I have. Professionally though, not like get out today, but it was
Yeah.
kind of like we're not asking you to come back for the
Yeah.
next. And I was like, okay, but I already wasn't coming back anyway, so the joke was okay.
So that was okay.
Right, it was fine. I didn't care.
Yeah.
Have you ever quit a job out of the blue?
No, I haven't.
Okay,
I think
calculated risk.
professionalism, yeah, is really important to me and making sure that I give them enough time because I don't want to burn bridges. You never know what's going to happen in the future.
And that's the key. You never know who you want. The issue, and even if
Yeah.
you just had a bad meeting with some people, leave with your head held high, thank you, and then go home and then send that thank
Yeah.
you for everything, but I'm putting in my 2 weeks. Don't leave cussing and screaming.
Yep.
Keep the power within you, and then just kind of be like, okay, so when I get
Yep.
home, put my 2 weeks in. All right, good stuff. Okay, so let's move on to the last segment, which is game time. This game time is F that job. I'm going to name a few scenarios and it's kind of like the boundaries game in a sense. I'm going to name a few scenarios and you just kind of tell me like, no, I'm not doing that. Or, you know what? I'll do it. It is what it is.
Okay.
Okay. All right. So the first scenario, that they're about to fire you. So you quit before they do.
Uh-huh.
What would you do? Would you quit or you would just kind of let them fire you?
No, I would quit before.
Okay. Some people are plotting on getting you fired. You have information to get them fired. Do you retaliate or you just kind of like, y'all got it?
I have a meaningful conversation with my boss about what's going on. And if I need to provide that information at that time to connect the dots, then that's what I will do.
Okay. You know that your place of work is actually going to be getting shut down soon. So you decide before it does that you go ahead and start setting yourself up with job interviews in other places.
Yeah, absolutely.
All right. Your current place of work is draining to your mental health. You can't afford to quit just yet, but you start taking the necessary steps to
Actions, yeah.
getting your actions to getting free.
Heck yeah, that's what I did.
All right, last one. You know for a fact some stuff is going on that shouldn't be going on at your job. Do you report it or do you just kind of like that don't have nothing to do with me?
I do report it if it
Okay.
has some sort of background with it and like actual evidence, because that's the biggest part with corporate world, is that they need to have evidence to actually do something about it.
Right. Okay. Last one. A big job, a big corporate promotion party, whatever is coming up that you have to be a part of, but you've had this trip set up for 3 months. Which way are you going?
I'm going on a trip.
All right, good stuff. All right, so let's end off with the question and challenge for the week, and this is for you all. Remember, when you participate in these question and challenges this season, there are no more gift cards. All right, everything is cash out. So whoever participates, I'm gonna put your name on the colorful wheel, and then boom, you get some money. All right, so this week's question and challenge: analyze your current place of work and ask yourself, do you love, like, or even hate your career? Then I want you to tell me why. Okay. All right, so thank you for this great conversation. Is there anything you need to tell us before you leave? Any plugs? We're definitely going to put your information in like the episode bio and all that good stuff and where people can find you. But any closing remarks?
No, I think that's so important to take that time to analyze, like that question that you just posted. If you like it, love it, hate it, why, and then kind of figure out what the next steps are for you. Get curious with yourself, and kind of dream about it. Like, what's possible for you? What would you like to do? What's fun to you? Figure out those things without judgment, and then you can start kind of figuring out a game plan and what the next steps are.
All right, good stuff. All right, so thank you all for tuning in as always. Thank you to my guests. It was a good time. PSA signing out. Always remember, keep your head up like your neck hurt. Remember who you are and make your mind up. Don't let it make you.